15 facts about South Africa. Number 15. The largest white slum in Africa. About 25 miles west of Johannesburg lies a place called Coronation Park, located in the town of Krugersdorp. Locals call it the capital of white poverty. More than 600 Afrikaners live crowded together in old shipping containers, torn tents, or makeshift shacks made of wooden boards and rusty metal sheets. When night falls, the entire camp is swallowed by darkness. No electricity, no running water, and no toilets. Life here revolves around the simplest meals. Families burn plastic, old tires, or scraps of trash just to heat up a few cans of food. The smoke, the stench of burning rubber, and human odor mix into the thick air, making newcomers wrinkle their noses. Barefoot children rummage through garbage piles, searching for bottles, copper wires, or leftover pieces of bread. Some haven't had a proper meal in days. Yet these people once controlled more than 80% of South Africa's economy during the apartheid era. Today, they survive on church donations and leftover food from supermarkets. The surrounding communities remain indifferent. Some even mock these white families. According to humanitarian organizations, more than 400,000 white South Africans currently live below the poverty line, and tens of thousands more reside in camps similar to Coronation Park. South Africa still has one of the largest white populations on the African continent, but the gap between rich and poor has never been this severe. Number 14. South Africa has another country within its borders. There are only 3 countries in the world that are completely surrounded by another nation: San Marino and Vatican City, both inside Italy, and Lesotho, which lies entirely within South Africa. It's a landlocked country with no coastline and no direct access to the sea. Covering about 11,700 square miles, Lesotho is smaller than the state of Maryland, yet it sits at an average elevation of over 4,600 feet, making it the highest country in Africa. It's the source of South Africa's 2 major rivers, the Tugela and the Orange. Because of that, South Africa depends heavily on Lesotho for drinking water, irrigation, and even electricity, thanks to an $8 billion project called the Lesotho Highlands Water Project. But has that relationship always been peaceful? Not exactly. Back in 1998, South Africa carried out a military intervention in Lesotho to suppress a political crisis, leaving hundreds dead. Since then, the 2 nations have cooperated, but with caution. Today, their shared border stretches more than 560 miles, and thousands of Lesotho citizens cross it daily to work in South Africa, mostly in mining, farming, and domestic service. What's truly remarkable is that despite being completely surrounded, Lesotho maintains diplomatic relations with over 40 countries and is a member of the United Nations, the African Union, and several other international organizations. While South Africa modernizes, Lesotho continues to preserve its traditions. You can still see Basotho horse riders wrapped in their colorful Basotho blankets traveling through snowy mountain trails. Number 13. Come to South Africa if you want 2 wives, without breaking the law. Can you imagine a place where a man having 2 wives doesn't raise any eyebrows? In South Africa, that's perfectly normal. Polygamy not only exists but is deeply rooted in the ancient traditions of the Zulu and Xhosa people. Bright, colorful weddings with multiple brides dancing around the groom are a common sight. Even former President Jacob Zuma married 6 wives and proudly appeared with them in public, something that would cause a global scandal in the West. But don't think South African women are submissive. They are stunning, strong, and incredibly smart. In fact, there are over 2 million more women than men in South Africa, and they're taking charge everywhere. Over 40% of small businesses are owned and run by women, spanning industries from fashion and technology to agriculture. Names like Phumzile, Mlambo Nkuka, and Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma aren't just symbols of feminism. They represent the global power and influence of South African women. With their glowing bronze skin under the African sun, confident eyes, dazzling smiles, and energetic figures, they turn heads wherever they go. Remember the name Zoëlise Jansen van Rensburg, South Africa's representative at Miss World 2025. She's just one example of the magnetic charm these women possess. Even more fascinating, while much of the world is still debating gender equality, South African women are proposing the legalization of polyandry, one woman having multiple husbands. So if you've ever dreamed of living in a society where having 2 wives is legal, or where love is open and accepted, South Africa might just be your dream come true. So what do you think about these women? If you had the chance to come here and marry 2, or even more of them, how would you feel about that? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Number 12. The world's largest pineapple-shaped house. If you've ever thought architecture had to be serious and boxy, then the giant pineapple-shaped building in Bathurst, South Africa, will make you laugh in disbelief. Standing nearly 56 feet tall, the Big Pineapple is officially the largest fruit-shaped building in the world, beating Australia's own Big Pineapple by just over 2 feet. Also, South Africans can proudly say, "We have the biggest pineapple on the planet." This quirky landmark was completed in the 1980s by the farming community of Bathurst, people who had struggled for decades on dry, unforgiving land until pineapples became the region's savior. To honor the fruit that brought them prosperity, they built a massive pineapple made of steel and fiberglass, both funny and sacred at the same time. Inside the structure is a 3-story mini-museum. The first floor tells the story of pineapple cultivation and how it transformed the area. The second floor sells pineapple-based products like wine, jam, juice, and soap. And the top floor serves as a 360-degree observation deck where visitors can enjoy panoramic views of golden pineapple fields stretching all the way to the horizon. Even more charming, outside the building tourists can find farm animal statues and real pineapple gardens, creating a scene that's both whimsical and totally Instagram-worthy. Number 11. The first African country to legalize same-sex marriage. Can you believe that in a continent where more than 30 countries still criminalize homosexuality, South Africa stands alone as the nation that boldly declared, "Love is a human right"? In 2006, South Africa became the first country in Africa, and the 5th in the world, to legalize same-sex marriage, following the Netherlands, Belgium, Spain, and Canada. And they didn't stop at just allowing marriage. South Africa went even further. Same-sex couples here have the right to adopt children, inherit property, and access reproductive health care, rights that even many Western nations are still debating today. Today, Cape Town is known as the gay capital of Africa, home to over 500,000 members of the LGBTQ+ community. The annual Cape Town Pride Festival attracts tens of thousands of international visitors every year, generating millions of dollars in tourism revenue and turning the city into one of the most open and inclusive destinations in the world, on par with San Francisco or Amsterdam. Number 10. It's illegal to obstruct a herdsman on the road. Have you ever imagined driving down a highway and suddenly finding yourself stopped by a herd of ostriches casually crossing the road while you wait for them to pass? In South Africa, that's not just an everyday occurrence, it's the law. According to South Africa's National Road Traffic Act, all drivers must yield to herdsmen and their livestock. Even more surprisingly, herdsmen themselves are required to yield to donkeys, goats, ostriches, mules, and horses, especially on rural roads. This law wasn't made for fun. Before the year 2000, South Africa recorded over 10,000 traffic accidents annually involving livestock and herders, most of them occurring in provinces like Limpopo, Northern Cape, and Free State. In those areas, roads are narrow, unfenced, and herds of cattle, goats, or ostriches can wander across at any moment. A collision with a full-grown cow weighing over 1,300 pounds can easily flip a truck, far more dangerous than a typical car accident. So the government stepped in. Road signs showing a person leading cattle or ostriches were installed across the countryside, and drivers who fail to yield can face fines up to $130 or even lose their licenses. It may sound funny, but in South Africa, animals are considered equal participants in traffic. Number 9. Bringing dried meat into South Africa is strictly forbidden. You can bring chocolate, coffee, or even alcohol when flying to South Africa, but absolutely no dried meat, not even a small pack. South Africa's quarantine laws are extremely strict. All types of dried meat, sausages, salami, or biltong from abroad are banned unless accompanied by an official international animal health certificate. The South African Customs and Agriculture Department classifies these items as high biosecurity risk, since even a tiny piece of infected meat carrying diseases like foot and mouth, avian flu, or African swine fever could devastate the country's livestock industry worth billions of dollars. Many travelers have been shocked upon arriving at Johannesburg or Cape Town airports to see customs officers confiscate all food products, sometimes issuing fines up to 10 times the value of the goods. In serious cases, offenders have even been placed on temporary entry ban lists. It may sound harsh, but South Africa has good reason. The country is one of Africa's top exporters of beef, venison, and ostrich meat, and a single outbreak could cost its agricultural economy millions of dollars. That's why the no dried meat at the border rule is treated as a matter of national biosecurity. But don't worry, South Africans love biltong too, their famous spiced beef jerky flavored with pepper, garlic, and coriander. If you want to try it, just buy it locally, where every product is properly inspected and certified safe. Number 8. Women who carry everything on their heads. In rural markets across South Africa, it's common to see an astonishing sight. Dozens of women walking miles with baskets twice their body weight balanced perfectly on their heads. They walk, talk, and even laugh, as if it takes no effort at all. Studies from the University of KwaZulu-Natal show that African women can carry loads equal to 20% of their body weight on their heads, without using more energy than when walking empty-handed. Why do they choose to carry things on their heads instead of using their hands or shoulders? There are at least 4 reasons, both practical and cultural. First, carts or vehicles are too expensive for many rural residents, so their natural truck is simply their head. Second, traditional African women's clothing is often tight-fitting, making it difficult to carry loads on their shoulders or wear backpacks. Third, among the Zulu and Xhosa people, the shoulders are considered sacred parts of the body connected to the gods, and thus should not bear heavy loads, making the head the only approved option. And finally, Africa's harsh climate makes head carrying a natural sunshade that keeps the body cool. Even more fascinating, African women's naturally curly hair becomes their secret weapon. When they place objects on their heads, the curls create natural friction, helping stabilize the load without using their hands. Number 7. The journey to resurrect the extinct Quagga horse. Some species seem lost forever, but in South Africa, people have proven that nature can be reborn with enough perseverance. One of the most astonishing examples is the revival of the Quagga, a strange half-striped, half-plain zebra species that was hunted to extinction in 1883. The Quagga was once an icon of the Karoo and Cape regions, its front half covered in zebra-like black and white stripes, while its hindquarters were smooth and brown like a horse. They used to roam the South African plains in herds of hundreds until humans hunted them to the very last one for their unique hides. Then in 1987, geneticist Reinhold Rau launched the Quagga Project, an ambitious effort to bring back the extinct species. Scientists selectively bred plain zebras with lighter, fewer stripes to gradually recreate the original Quagga's genetic traits. After more than 35 years of research, the results are astonishing. Over 200 new Quaggas now live in reserves like Etosha, Elandsburg, and Bontebok National Park. Many have fully adapted to the wild, reproduce naturally, and are considered one of the most successful resurrections of an extinct animal, sharing over 90% of the physical traits and patterns of the ancient Quagga. Number 6. Robben Island Prison, turned into a 5-star tourist destination. Can you imagine a place that once held those labeled as enemies of the state, becoming a luxury tourist attraction and a UNESCO World Heritage Site? That's exactly what happened to Robben Island, the infamous island off the coast of Cape Town where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for 18 years in a cell barely 8 feet long. During the apartheid era, Robben Island served as a maximum security prison for political prisoners, isolated from the mainland by the icy, turbulent waters of the Atlantic Ocean. Inmates were forced to crush limestone under the scorching sun, survive on meager rations, and were strictly forbidden from communicating with one another. Many once said, Robben Island didn't just break bodies, it crushed the human spirit. But today, this symbol of suffering has been transformed into a high-end travel experience. Visitors can now book 5-star tours from Cape Town to the island, Step inside Mandela's tiny cell, breathe in the air of history, and listen to powerful stories told by local guides. The most remarkable part: many of those guides are former prisoners who were once locked up there. They recount their years of isolation and abuse in calm, measured voices that leave visitors silent with emotion. Today, Robben Island welcomes more than 350,000 visitors a year, making it one of South Africa's most famous historical destinations. Number 5. Everyone loves going barefoot. In many countries, walking around barefoot might be seen as rude or strange, but in South Africa, it's a natural part of everyday life. From rural villages to coastal cities like Cape Town and Durban, it's common to see adults, kids, and even college students walking, shopping, or sitting in cafes with bare feet. Afrikaners call it the barefoot lifestyle. They believe that letting your feet touch the earth helps balance the body's energy, reduce stress, and build resilience. Many even proudly say, "We don't need shoes to prove we're civilized. Bare feet are human nature." Yet behind this lifestyle lies a more practical truth. In poorer areas, many families can't afford shoes, especially children in rural regions. Over time, walking barefoot became a habit and eventually a cultural identity. In neighborhoods like Observatory, you might even see signs that say, "No shoes, no service." Yet right outside, groups of barefoot locals laugh and chat as if the rule never existed. Even when the pavement heats up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, they stroll calmly, treating it as a small challenge of daily life. For South Africans, bare feet are more than a habit. They're a symbol of endurance, freedom, and pride in what they call the barefoot lifestyle. Number 4. The most beautiful coastal road in the world. If there's one place that makes you want to keep driving forever while saying, "This is breathtaking," every few minutes, it's the Garden Road, the legendary 186-mile coastal highway that winds along South Africa's southern coast, from Mossel Bay to Storms River. They call it the Lover's Paradise, because every turn reveals a new view. On one side, endless turquoise ocean. On the other, lush forests, crystal clear lakes, towering cliffs, and cascading waterfalls. Along the way, you can stop at Knysna, a lagoon-side town famous for its oysters and ancient pine forests, or Plettenberg Bay, where couples often gather to watch whales and dolphins swimming just offshore. For thrill seekers, the Blukrands Bridge, standing 708 feet high, offers one of the world's tallest bungee jumps. And for nature lovers, Tsitsikamma National Park feels like stepping into a fairy tale forest, where every trail is draped in mist and the air smells of wet wood. According to National Geographic, the Garden Route ranks among the top 10 most beautiful coastal drives on Earth, alongside California's Pacific Coast Highway and Australia's Great Ocean Road. Each year, more than 1.2 million travelers from around the world come here just to experience the magic of driving between the endless blue sea and the deep green wilderness. Number 3. The only country in the world with 3 capitals. On the world map, few places are as unique as South Africa, a nation with not 1, not 2, but 3 capitals, each with its own personality, soul, and rhythm. If Washington, D.C. is the single seat of power in the U.S., or Paris is the political heart of France, then South Africa took a different path, dividing its power to balance past and present, North and South, Europe, and Africa. In the north lies Pretoria, exuding the dignified aura of an African Washington, D.C. Its sunlit streets are lined with blooming purple jacaranda trees that turn the entire city into a sea of color every October. Atop Mintjieskop Hill stands the majestic Union Buildings where the president works. In front of it rises a 30-foot statue of Nelson Mandela, arms open wide to welcome the world. Down south, Cape Town tells a completely different story, one that blends political importance with Mediterranean beauty. The Parliament building sits among historic streets, with Table Mountain towering behind it, overlooking the turquoise Atlantic coastline. Locals call it the heart of democracy, where every major decision is made amid the sounds of ocean waves and sea breezes. And in the country's center is Bloemfontein, the city of roses, calm, graceful, and often compared to Geneva. It's the seat of justice, home to the Supreme Court of Appeal, surrounded by gardens filled with wildflowers that bloom each spring. Number 2. The world's largest diamond mine, visible from space. If the Earth had a scar that told a story of greed, ambition, and human determination, it would be the Big Hole in Kimberley, South Africa, the world's largest hand-dug diamond mine. Between 1871 and 1914, more than 50,000 miners used nothing but shovels and picks, no machinery, to dig a massive pit 740 feet deep, nearly 1,600 feet wide, and over a mile around. Altogether, they moved about 22 million tons of earth and rock just to extract around 6,000 pounds of rough diamonds. That's less than 0.13 carats per ton of soil. But from this very place, the first diamonds sparked global madness, transforming Kimberley into the diamond capital of the world. Today, NASA satellites have confirmed that the Big Hole is one of the few man-made excavations visible from space, a bright turquoise wound in the red semi-desert earth. The pit is now filled with deep blue-green water, forming a mysterious lake that glows like a jewel under the African sun. Modern Kimberley has turned this once dangerous mine into a world-class attraction. Visitors can take an elevator down into the pit, tour the De Beers Museum, and see raw diamonds glittering under spotlights. Number 1. Feeding wild animals is strictly forbidden. If you visit South Africa and think feeding a baboon, penguin, or seal is cute, you're actually committing one of the country's most serious taboos. In national parks like Kruger, Table Mountain, or the Boulders Beach Reserve, South African law clearly states, feeding wild animals is strictly prohibited. Even a single crumb of bread counts as a violation. Fines can reach up to about $130, and in serious cases that cause injury or environmental harm, you could even face criminal charges. It may sound harsh, but there's a good reason. In South Africa, baboons are incredibly intelligent. They can open car doors, snatch handbags, and raid food from trunks. Once they're fed a few times by humans, they lose their natural fear, becoming aggressive and attacking tourists for food. Since 2015, more than 120 baboon attacks have been recorded around Cape Town, forcing authorities to create a special baboon monitor team, a group of volunteers trained to keep the animals away from residential areas. A similar situation happens at Boulders Beach, home to the endangered African penguin. Many visitors, out of curiosity, feed them dried fish or snacks, which causes digestive problems and disrupts their natural hunting behavior. Some tourists have even been pecked and left bleeding after trying to pet a penguin while it was eating. And that brings us to the end of our journey through 15 strange and surprising taboos in South Africa. Which one shocked you the most? Or do you have your own stories about South Africa? Share them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And tell us which country you'd like us to cover next. It might just be our next documentary. See you in the next episode.